Like, healing doesn't have to be so fucking intense. Like, it is intense.
Say it again for the
healing
people.
Healing doesn't have to be so fucking intense all the time. Like, you gotta be silly and, like, sexy and, like, you're healed in this moment. If you fucking decide it, you're healed. You are whole and complete. Bam, done.
That's it.
Like, stop viewing yourself as broken.
All right, welcome to another episode of Jetstream. With me today, I have Sammy. Sammy is an entrepreneur, a sex coach, and just the overall just dope-ass human being. We met very randomly in a coffee shop. I overheard a conversation she was having, and she was talking about light and love and positivity and freedom, and I was like, I need to talk to her. Like, she's on the same wave I'm on. So, welcome to the show, Sammy.
Thank you.
How you feeling today?
Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah.
I'm feeling all the things. I'm feeling anger, frustration, love, ease, and just goodness.
Okay. That's a nice way to smooth it all out. Goodness, you know.
Yeah, goodness.
How's your week been?
My week has been a lot of new things. So definitely lots of like wobbles.
Okay.
Lots of stretching. Lots of like, what is life? What is the purpose? Like, why am I here? But in like, you know, good ways that we can all handle. And yeah. And then it's also been really fun and beautiful. So
I feel like I have the what is life moment like every 3 days. It's always on cue. I'll be good, then
good.
Fuck, what is life? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Can you relate to that?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. But it's almost like I just read this book Ishmael. Have you ever read it? I read it in like 2 days, and I finished it the other day. And then as soon as I finished, I was like listening to it on Audible while working, and my boss came in right as it ended, and she was speaking to me, and I was just like, I'm so sorry, my mind is just so blown right now, like I can't, like I'm in a state of like, what is life, like what are we doing here, because it kind of, it's such a beautiful story, and it really centers around like how we exist under this mythology that we accept as truth.
Okay.
In our current, and it calls it like mother culture and society, and it's like we're born free, but we're trained and taught by the mother culture, and like we live and submit to it.
Okay.
And it's just like it plays into the like what is life feelings.
That existential crisis.
Yeah, but like it's beautiful because it talks about like love and abundance and opportunity, and it's not at all like a negative story or a book, but it just kind of also like makes you a little bit like, why are we doing this? Like,
So it kind of picks apart like the cultural norms. Is that?
Yeah, like how our creation story of how we're here is centered around how like creation ended with humans, and all of creation exists only for humans. Therefore, humans have to be extinct for creation to continue. And that's what we're facing right now. Right? So and like evolution, like we're here to evolve, and if that's going to keep happening the way it's intended to, either by the universe or God or whatever someone believes in, then the way that humans have structured life and played God and tried to control everything, it's halted the way we have our society set up. So it's like we have to be extinct in order for evolution to continue.
We got straight into the deep. I'm excited because look, I've thought about that before, and it's one of those scary thoughts because it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's like at this point, I guess that's why I'm so heavy on just doing whatever feels right, because why not? We don't know how much time we have. We don't know what's next. We don't know why we're here. So it's like, why are we stressed out about doing what people tell us is the right thing?
So I'm curious, when you say doing what feels right, what's happened when you've done what's felt wrong?
That's a great question. I feel like most of my life before the last few years didn't resonate with me. I was just doing it because that was what I was told.
Yeah.
Go to college, get a job, just do the normal shit. And when I stopped and I just started following what I felt, when I stopped doing client work and just started traveling without knowing where my next check was coming from. That type of shit. Yeah. But it's like, I just knew, like, this feels too true not to try, Because all the stuff people tell me just didn't feel true. So it's like, when I started doing what felt true, my life kind of became way more beautiful.
I think so many people are envious of having that clarity of feeling, though, of like what feels wrong and what feels right. I feel like a lot of people, and me, myself included, because it changes over time, especially being so hormonal as a woman. Like,
okay.
like it might be like a fuck yes one day, and then the next day it's like no. But it's funny because in Ishmael, the premise is like, it's this character who then writes a story, a short story when he was like in high school about how it feels like we've been lied to, but we don't know what the lie is. And then he learns that he's been lied to. Well, his teacher asked him, like, do you feel like that's you? And he was like, yeah. And she's like, well, what's the lie? He's like, I don't know. And then he meets a teacher who tells him the lie, essentially, over a series of him opening up his mind and expanding him and him asking questions and like, and then they get to the lie. And
what was the lie?
The lie is that we're born free in on this abundant earth. The earth, we're part of it. It's not for us. We're for it because we're part of it.
Right.
And like, we're not superior to animals. We're not superior to Mother Nature. Okay. All of creation doesn't exist just so we could exist.
Right.
It's like we're part of the whole, and we're meant to be stewards of it rather than this egotistical creation mythology that like it all exists just for us, like so we can be here and fill our gas tank and go to college and watch the television and like numb out till we die and get a paycheck. We were born into heaven on earth and into this paradise, and if it's going to continue being a paradise, like we need to be free by living in a state of freedom with earth and nature rather than against it trying to be God.
Right.
And it goes back to like Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
The people who think they know right and wrong, who bite from God's tree of right and wrong, they experience a lot of anxiety and fear and that like panic because they're trying to control everything that is not in their hands to control. But when you live in the land of the gods and you surrender and you don't try to play God and you live according to nature, you're free. And you accept death, you accept life, you accept weather, you accept illness, and you accept healing. And you accept all the magic and that is already here for us. But like because of agriculture, which was born from the fear of death, to like let me sow my own crops and feed myself rather than trusting in the abundance of hunting and gathering. We created that out of fear, and therefore we had to like control it and then exchange money, and then now we have capitalism. So
I love the fact that you brought up the story of Adam and Eve, because that story conflicted me for so long. That story is actually what made me venture off from my traditional Christian upbringing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah, I went to private school, went to Christian school, elementary through middle.
Wow.
Like, And
I don't know anything about the Bible. I don't know anything about religion.
You know a little something because
tiny bit.
You dropped some knowledge just now, but I want to show you like it resonates because I think a lot of those books were written from a perspective of more like what you're talking about, but then over the years it's just gotten twisted. Because when I first read that story as an adult, as a free-minded adult, and I'm like, how did the first two people that got created fuck up everything for eternity? I just never could understand that. These are the perfect gods first people that he ever made. And it says everything he made was good. And his first creations fucked it up for everybody. He literally punished humankind for his creations.
Yeah, because everything was created for us, right? For Adam and Eve.
From that perspective,
From
yeah.
that perspective,
and I was just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, but now that I go back to it with a different perspective, I see it's more like symbolic of what you said. If you go through life, it was the two trees. It was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that you weren't supposed to eat from, and the tree of life. If you just live your life and stop trying to, like you said, figure everything out, make your own moral codes, right and wrong, do this, do that. Yeah. You can just live and be free and be happy. And it's like that story makes so much more sense to me now. Like, not as literally, but more as just like it's a symbol. Like, bro, don't try to have so much control of everything. Don't try to know so much. Don't try to be so wise all the time. You know, like, that was my thing. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to understand everything.
Yeah.
But some things just you don't need to understand. You know, it's like some things are too big for you to understand, and you'll kill yourself trying, in my opinion.
Do you think it's too big or too simple?
Both.
Yeah.
Because it's like, life, for instance, life is simple, but it's vast at the same time. It's like the duality of everything. It's like, but do you even want to dive into that? Like, is it worth even going down that path?
Yeah.
You could spend that time doing cool shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, all the time you spend thinking and trying to understand, you could be having fun. Spending time with people you care about.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, the track of fear, the track of love. The track of love is creation. The track of fear is protecting and trying to make sure nothing ever happens that's bad. And controlling.
Bad.
Yeah.
Like, what is bad even?
Bad.
But, yeah, I feel like we got really deep really quick. I want to pull back a little bit because I want to make sure everybody's still with us. You know, I'm enjoying it. But I just want to make sure. So, I guess going back to what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how you got on the track of becoming a sex coach. Because to a lot of people, sex is one of those taboo topics that they don't like to talk about publicly, or they feel like, you know. How did you get the boldness and the confidence to just step out in the world and say, I'm a sex coach?
It's funny because when you say that, I'm like, oh, it requires boldness and confidence. Like, shit, I don't know. Do I have those things? Like
You definitely do.
Thank you. Like, I guess I just don't even think of it like that. I think I'm very, very, very lucky because I've always known in my life since 6 years old, I had a lot of chaos around me, and I just always knew, like, love is the only thing that's real. Like,
you knew that as a kid?
At 6.
Wow.
Like, I remember the moment it came into my brain, and, like, I thank God for that every single day because that truth saved my life countless times. Like, love is the only thing that's real. And all the pain and confusion, all the other things, it's not real.
Okay.
And I always knew that. So, I always was a very sexual being, like, masturbating starting at 6 years old. Wow. Like, yeah, always really in touch with and I was shamed for it and, like, yelled at and, like, got in trouble. And, like, I used to, like, I just was very sexual always my whole life. And then, like, shut it down and shoved it away because society told me to. And, like, you have to be a good girl and you can't be a whore or slut or all the things. Yeah. And I dealt with a lot of sexual trauma as a kid, as a young kid, and then as an adult as well. I've had many experiences that I've had to heal from, and I was an alcoholic in my early 20s, and I also bartended at that time, and I had a life-threatening experience where I was like, if I were to die right now, like, I would not be proud of who I am. Like, I don't live my life according to any of my principles or things I believe in. And so then I got sober, and during that 8-month period of waiting to see if I was going to die, I had a rabies scare, and they weren't sure if I had the vaccines and the immunoglobulin too late.
What?
Yeah, so I had to like wait 6 months to see if it was too late.
Yo, that's crazy.
I know. I was so terrified. I was having panic attacks. Like, I couldn't sleep. I would be too afraid to sleep at night because I was afraid I wasn't going to wake up. So I would like stay up until 8 a.m. And I watched YouTube videos to like keep me company. And that's when I found out about like veganism and like slave-made products and like all these things. And I changed like everything that's going on with the environment. And I like changed everything in my life. I like stopped wearing a bra. I went vegan. I stopped drinking. I stopped wearing as much makeup. I like stopped buying. I tried to only buy secondhand things. Like I scan every product to see like what. There's this awesome thing called Boycott. It's an app, and you can choose like causes you care about, like child slavery, human trafficking, like even politicians that you align with or don't align with. Like you can boycott Trump products, and so you scan a company, and it tells you where the money goes.
What's the name of that app?
Boycott. BUYCOTT.
That's fire.
It's existed for a long time. Now I can even like look at a product now and I'm like, these motherfuckers. Like I like can tell like who is. It becomes easy, so you don't have to do it all the time. Like you start to learn like, oh, okay, this is a smaller company, this is a major corporation, or this is a bullshit small company that's under a major corporation.
Right.
So yeah, I just like educated myself during that time and really changed a lot of things like overnight. And I realized I was numbing my sexual trauma with alcohol.
Okay.
So that is what started everything. And then I was like, let me go on this journey to heal and let me just share this messy ass experience and see if anyone finds value in it or feels less alone. And that was my main intention. Like, I just didn't want people to feel alone if they were going through the same thing. And then I made this, after I had been healing for a while, I kind of summarized everything I had learned into this like 7-step process. And then I made that into a video and I posted it on YouTube, and I still get comments every single day. This was like 5-6 years ago now. Or 7 years ago, but like I still get comments every single day saying like, thank you, this is the only thing that I found that's helpful, like, and even like children commenting on it. Like, I'm 11 years old, like my cousin, something happened, no one believes me, like, thank you for this. So yeah, I mean this stuff just isn't out there because there's so much shame around it. People get really uncomfortable, and then in the last like 4 or 5 years, I kind of transitioned from like healing the trauma into liberation.
Right.
Yeah, because like
it seems like the stuff you do now is a lot more like about best practices and how to enhance your experiences, I guess.
Yes, like it's always focused on healing inadvertently because like we can heal with pleasure and fun.
Okay.
Like healing doesn't have to be so fucking intense. Like it is intense.
Say it again for the
healing
people.
Healing doesn't have to be so fucking intense all the time. Like you gotta be silly and like sexy and like you're healed in this moment. If you fucking decide it, you're healed. You are whole and complete. Bam, done.
That's it.
Like, stop viewing yourself as broken. That's huge. And that's something that, like, even today, I mean, and it's a continual process. Like, even today, I went to go get groceries before coming over here. And, like, the security man was kind of following me around. When I walked in, he was like, he said something to me, and I couldn't really hear it. And I grabbed my cart, and I just went in, and I smiled at him. I saw him at another point in the grocery store, and he's like, you have the most beautiful smile. But the way he said it, I was like, there's too much attitude when you fucking said that to me. Like, don't, like I even felt like almost hyper vigilant of like, fuck you, dude, don't be sexual toward, you know, like
weird vibes.
Yeah, like don't be hitting on me. You're like 60 something. Like I'm just fucking grocery shopping. You know, like triggers still come up. Like moments will still come up, and it's fine. Like, and so yeah, did that answer your question?
That did answer my question. Yeah. So I like the fact that you just said, you know, no matter how much you've healed, we're still human. Like things still affect us. Because I think people people expect there to be like this finish line where nothing can get under your skin, nothing can affect you anymore. I'm healed. But it's like that doesn't exist, in my opinion. How do you feel about that?
Well, to refer to your like Christian upbringing, it's almost like this ingrained purity consciousness.
Okay.
Like I have to purify myself. I have to forgive all the sins and cleanse my soul and heal every little thing, and no. Like that's such a waste of time. Like live your life.
Yeah.
Love yourself, feel free, feel safe, like do what you need to do, but also like the last step of the 7-step process I posted years ago, and also some of the things I say in that video I don't agree with anymore, and also that was just my personal process. But the last step is to live in the now. Like something may have happened to you then, but you have this moment in front of you now.
Right.
So you can either keep yourself a victim who's dirty and unhealed and has all this shit and baggage, and you can carry that into this moment, or you can just, I'm good, like, I'm good. And it's not to bypass it, it's just to actively choose to value this moment in time and to choose what you want your experience to be.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the moment you decide to be the person you want to be, it starts this process in the universe, whatever you want to call it, where it puts you on the path. So it'll present you with opportunities to then learn how to become that thing that you said you were. And they might be challenging, but those are the challenges you need to get to the person you want to be, at least from my personal experience.
Yeah, I love the way you just said that.
I was always like painfully shy growing up, like really just fucking quiet. And starting a business forced me to get out of it. So like telling myself, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I didn't fully believe it, but I wanted to be
Yeah, you're like,
that.
I'm a liar, but hi.
Yeah, like I'm gonna try, you know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fake it till I make it. And the first networking meeting I had to go to, I'm gonna be like, my name is Will and I do videos.
Give me your money, please.
I'm nervous as shit, you know what I'm saying? But
oh my gosh.
you do enough of them and you realize like, oh, I am becoming this person. And a few years later, it's like, it's nothing. Now I'm talking to strangers on the internet I met you at a you know what I mean? Like, I'm completely different.
Yeah. Are we going to tell them how? Oh, you did say that.
Like,
yeah.
I literally met Sammy. I was drinking a coffee at like, it was like a Sunday night. And you were on work calls or something?
I was on the phone with my best friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was just so excited and upbeat. I was like, I felt the energy before I even heard what she was saying. She was just like, yeah, you should do this and that. I looked like, who is that? And I took one of my headphones off to hear. I was like, what's she talking about? And I was like, oh shit, she's really on some real shit. Like, I can relate to what she's talking about. Let me invite her to the show. And at this point, the show wasn't even a show, it was an idea.
Yeah.
She asked me, like, can I see the show? I said, I haven't shot it yet, but...
He's like, it doesn't exist.
We're going to shoot the first episode tomorrow so I can send it to you.
Yeah.
And, you know, here we are. So it's just funny how when you step into the thing, before you know what the thing is, if you just believe that the thing is a thing, it becomes a thing.
Yeah, because we're here to because life is creation. And this is like, my ultimate belief is that, like, life is always trying to create more life. So if you have an intention that involves spreading love or sharing wisdom or bringing people together, life will come together to make that happen.
Yes.
Because the seeds want to grow. But if your intention is, let me make more money, let me get more validation, let me experience wealth or fame, like, that's a taking. That's not giving life. So, like, that's the key to manifestation for me. Like,
that's huge. That's so huge. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that in that way.
Oh.
I truly agree with everything, but I just never heard it out loud. Because when I pray or, you know, I'm in the shower just talking, it's like one of the things that I've noticed that I say now is like, let my basically, I want to live a life of abundance, but let my abundance serve other people so that it can be a net positive. I don't want to just hoard shit. I want to live in abundance, so I have abundance to give, so I have abundance to share. And I feel like when I switched that, it did open everything up.
Yeah.
Like the last few years, I've been operating, or I was operating more out of like, let me have pleasure. Let me just enjoy things. And it was cool at first.
Yeah.
But it didn't really hit like I thought it would hit. It kind of, yeah.
This is it.
It just wasn't, yeah. So
Yeah.
I realized like I have to switch something. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like I'm living.
This is the basis of sexual liberation. Exactly how you just described it.
I need you to take over. Tell me how that relates to sexual liberation.
How do you think that relates, though?
I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, fair. I love that description, and also it's like let the abundance that I receive in my life be a true reciprocity. Mm-hmm. Like let it be born from this beautiful exchange.
Right.
Like that is honest and real. Mm-hmm. And and people don't. That is not the common sentiment. But what you said of chasing pleasure rather than just being fully fulfilled, like your priorities, your intention changed. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times with sex, what can happen is people are like, how can I have more pleasure? How can I be more like validated? I could be fulfilled, how can I be more sexually fulfilled? But I feel like when people say that, they don't even really know what that means. Like they're just saying it.
Okay.
And so then they follow all the stupid advice of like, dress up, like role play, use lube. Oh my God, and all your sexual problems will be solved and you'll be a goddess and everyone will worship you. No. No. I've never dressed up for a partner ever, and you would be like, a lot of times people assume when you do helping people with work around sex, because I definitely don't categorize what I do under sex work.
Right.
Because it's just a different.
Completely different lane.
A different experience, a different lane, a different, I really respect what they do and I wouldn't, it's just not the same experience. So right. It's just something different. But yeah, a lot of times people assume oh, you must be a freak or you must do all this stuff or you must be promiscuous or you must be and it's there's this, that's not sexual liberation. Okay. And so there's kind of, I call it the promiscuity, sexual liberation paradox, where it's the more liberated you become, the less promiscuous almost.
I saw that. You posted that.
Yeah. It's it doesn't have to be that way. That's not right or wrong. There's no hierarchy. There's no one judging it. But that just tends to be a trend that happens is you value and honor your body and yourself and your space so much that you don't just let anyone into that space unless it truly feels freeing. But a lot of times people go seeking for answers oh, I need more lube, or I'm just not sexy enough, let us role play, where there's a true disconnection between people and between yourself.
So they're trying to solve the symptoms instead of the actual issue.
Yes.
So how do you solve the issue of... Well, actually, what is the issue? Tell me what the issue would be.
The issue is always intimacy. So I define intimacy, and again, everything I say doesn't have to apply to everyone. It's not the ultimate truth.
Right.
This is just what I've learned and what has worked for me and what has worked for my clients and things I've noticed and witnessed and but intimacy, I've always defined it as the safety to tell the truth. Okay. So someone has to get the flag and stab it into the ground and goes and say this is a safe space for us to tell the truth. For us to be our full self.
Okay.
Exactly what you did in the beginning. by creating, like, you're creating a safe space for us to have this honest conversation.
True.
And to be our full self. So, like, someone has to create that structure and that space, and we have to do it within ourselves, and we also have to do it with our partner.
Okay.
But often we abandon ourselves to maintain the relationship and, like, the identity we've formed within it. And because we are always trying not to lose love. So it's like we'll self-abandon to try not to lose love, and that creates a disconnect. And then what happens is we don't feel safe, and then our heart isn't feeling safe, so then we're triggered into fight or flight. So then we can't be stimulated because our blood flow isn't happening. And then our brains that are syncing from our mirror neurons are like, what's going on? Why don't we feel safe? We don't feel connected.
Okay.
And then it's like you're just in autopilot because you don't have enough energy and presence to actually be like fully stimulated, fully alive, fully sensual, fully tasting, fully feeling, fully breathing.
Okay.
So then your brain goes into autopilot, like driving. Like, how did I get here? It's like all of a sudden you came and you're like, how did we, like, what just happened? Like, I'm bored. Like.
So that's really good. So basically, the key to having fulfilling sex with your partner is basically just being completely present and open.
Yes.
And the way to do that is by creating the safe space. How does one go about creating that safe space?
It's so, yeah, that's the work.
Okay.
That's the work. So, and like, yeah, I deal with this every day. Like, we all deal with this all the time because we experience life and then we have to deal with it. And so it's like,
that's the shit.
Yeah, that's it. Like, that's the secret. Like, we just, every day, it's like, we just have to make space for digesting our truth. So, like, not suppressing your emotions, which is a big thing. We numb with, like, stimulants and chemicals. So, like, coffee, alcohol, weed. Like, to actually find someone who's not on chemicals is, like,
rare.
Very rare.
I'm drinking tea as we speak.
Oh yeah, you're wild. Tea is a totally different story, but yeah, you have to create the safety by you literally just declare it. It's kind of the same as like how do you declare safety in the world? Like you have to just expect it. And so you have to like set that standard for yourself. Like I'm going to create safety for me to feel all the things and be present with whatever comes up in whatever way, knowing I'll be in my power, knowing I'll be protected, knowing that I'm still loved, knowing that I'm always worthy, knowing that I am inherently, infinitely loved, valued, and worthy at all times, regardless of anything that could ever happen. And owning that, like even if you don't believe it,
all right.
Like owning it. So like walking out into the world like I am worthy of being protected, honored, loved, and like valued by every single person that I encounter. And like expecting that of people. Because that's the only way you can live. What's the other way? Like being in fear, not trusting other people, assuming everyone's out to get you, which you will be triggered into that. Like I was today at the grocery store. Like, who's this fucking man? Like following me around, you know? Like, but yeah. So like, okay, that happened. Come back to it. That's real. That happened. Great. Now what?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I love that part of me. That's cool. She's angry. Fuck it. Get angry, girl. Like, what do you want to do with that? Like, she wanted to yell, so I yelled and punched my pillow, and then I like let it go.
So, a lot of what you just said, I always tie things into religion because that's my like roots. It sounds like having faith. Faith is literally just going through life unbothered. Like everything will be fine, even if I don't know how it will be. It will be, and it sounds like that's the basis of what you're saying for liberation sexually and just in general. It's just going through life with faith in a different perspective, I guess.
Yes. Although I heard someone say the last year this woman that I was lucky enough to talk to who healed from the thing that I am healing and working with, POTS, she was like, faith is an act of the will, not a feeling. And that really stuck with me. And so I wonder if that's how you would define faith or how you experience faith.
Say that again, because my name is Will, and I feel like that was a sign that maybe I need to hear this.
I like that. She said, faith is an act of the will, not a feeling. Because she was down and out, like very sick for 8 months, like in a dark room, wasn't doing anything, couldn't even be on her phone, like laying down, just wave of symptoms after symptoms after symptoms, just like suffering for 8 months. And she went to church, and she is Christian still, and she was like, I never felt God. I never felt, this love or faith. Like, she's like, I felt afraid. I felt like I was betrayed by life. And she was like, I had to decide to have faith in my mind. I had to choose faith. And she was like, when you are healing, when you are sick or depressed, your will is basically the only weapon you have. And so, like, faith is an act of the will, like choosing to have faith, even if you don't feel it.
That makes sense, because then I believe by choosing, then the feeling, it has space to grow. Like we were saying earlier. Yeah, it's the seed. So that's good. That's really good. But
how do you think of faith? Like, how do you define faith? Besides, like, just how you said.
Yeah, faith to me is like, for instance, I believe that people are kind of like computers, and whatever you program into it is what's going to come out of it. And this is the operating system. So it's like, to me, faith is like, I'm just going to program the shit I want and believe that it's going to happen. And I'm not going to worry about how it's going to happen. I'm not going to stress over it. Just in my mind, I know that it's done. I put the code in. I'm going to walk away now. And whatever happens in life, I'm just going to go through it. And I know eventually I'll get to whatever I programmed into my mind. And that seems to work pretty well for me. That's kind of how I view faith. When I was younger, it was more like, pray to Jesus and Jesus will save you. I think I had to get out of that personally just because it took my power away. It made it feel like I was relying on this external source when really the source is here. Maybe Jesus was an example of like what someone with faith can do, but maybe I don't need to pray and ask him to help me in my life. Maybe I can just do what he did and maybe I'll be fine. And I think that's with any figure who has gone through life and displayed, that connection to the divine. It's like they're examples, but not necessarily, your portal. You can't just click the button and say Jesus and everything be better. It's like you actually have to do something within yourself. You have to make the decision, like you said.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective on it.
Yeah. Wow. Did that feeling of giving your power away to something else, like, when did you shift that?
I was going through a depression around like 2015, working a job I didn't like, living at home with my parents, which I love them, but it was just, I wanted to be out and living, and I just felt very stuck. Very, like I didn't really have a sense of direction. I just was just living. And I was looking around, and it felt like everybody around me just was kind of doing the same thing, just doing shit.
Yeah.
Couldn't really tell you why they're doing it. Just get a check, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I needed more than that. It was like, if I'm going to live, I have to enjoy living.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be here just living a mediocre-ass life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, feel alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I just decided, like, I need more. I have a notebook somewhere in here where I wrote down, like, don't let your mind trap your body. I wrote that shit on the cover of the notebook. And I just started writing shit, like what I want life to look like. You know what I mean? I will be this. I will be this. I am this. And that was like the seed. Then a couple years later, I got back to a place. I started going through life a little bit differently. I quit that job. I started doing video stuff, and I started living a little bit more. Life is becoming more free. Still wasn't all the way there yet. So in 2019, had another moment where I'm like, all right, I need to change shit up again. So I write out another like list of affirmations, like 3 pages long, just full of them. Recorded them. Like, I want to listen to this shit now. So I record them. I make music too, so I made a song and I'm like, put it to the music. And that shit changed my life.
What did it sound like? Was it like relaxing or like energizing, or like this music that you paired
It's relaxing. It's like kind of something you can just bop to throughout the day, but it's like kind of trippy too. Okay. It's actually called The Firm. Y'all can download it on iTunes. It's out. Do yourself that favor if you want.
I love it.
Yeah, that shit changed my life. Like, I think I've listened to it over 1,000 times. I used to listen to it like all day. Since then, like, I've traveled abroad so much for free, like done so much cool shit that I never thought I'd even be able to do. Live a very free, comfortable life. And I truly believe that it all was based on having the faith to just write out the things I wanted to see and just programming it in my mind and waiting for it to happen and not being afraid of it when it showed up.
Yeah.
Because another thing is, a lot of times when you want something, it comes into your life, but then if you're not ready or you're not expecting it, you can shy away from it. You're like, oh shit, I didn't know this was really coming. Like, you can get scared and you can psych yourself out.
Yeah.
Like, one of those moments, I got a call asking me to go to Africa in 2 days. She was like, hey, you want to come to Senegal, like Tuesday? It was like Sunday. I didn't have anybody to watch the dog. My rent was like due in a few days. I didn't have the rent yet.
Yeah.
Like, nothing made sense. My fearful self was like, nah, you can't do that, Will. Like, that doesn't make sense. But I felt love. I would have loved to do it. So that was one of the first moments where I chose love over fear. Even though it didn't make sense and I didn't know how I was going to pay rent when I got back, I wasn't getting paid for the trip. It was just like, my mom was like scared because, you hear about Africa getting shots and stuff. Yeah. She didn't want me to go. But I decided to go. I just said, fuck it, and I just went. Yeah. And that trip, again, changed my life. Like, completely new perspective on what it means to live. Just seeing it's so much bigger than my neighborhood in Richmond, Virginia. You know what I mean? And I just after that, I kept choosing love. In every situation where I had a choice between fear and love, I kept choosing love. And it's been going really well for me.
Do you feel like you decide something like that and then that mindset just stays once you've decided it? Or do you feel almost like you decide it and you're like, yeah, this is the path. This is real good. And then you're like, the next day, you almost kind of have to become re-enlightened to that decision again and again and again? Like,
for me, so it's like a muscle. The first few times, you have to think about it. It's not automatic.
Yeah.
I think the more you do it, you get into a flow. But then once you master that level, the next level is like you start from scratch. The next level of like freedom comes with much more difficult choices.
Yeah.
Choices that are much scarier to make.
Yes.
And I think, that's where I'm at now. It's like, from then to now, this is like the next level, where it's like now I'm reconsidering, like, what do I want my relationships to look like?
Yeah.
Do I really want to be tied to one person? Like, shit that now it's like, okay, I'm challenging my core beliefs. Now I'm challenging like things that my family might not, like or accept. It's like, this is the freedom that, again, I have to make that decision all over again. Like, fuck, am I going to choose love or am I going to choose fear? And it's just as hard now as it was when I first started.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my one friend always says when your ceiling becomes your floor. And it's almost like, I feel like when that happens, your ceiling becomes your floor. So, like, you're on this new level. And I feel like day one, it's just all the fear again. And we shame ourselves and we get so intense in our bodies and our brains because we're like, I dealt with this, I healed this, I fixed this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get trapped in the healing forever. But it's like, at first, the fear comes out. And it's like, okay, what if I'm homeless? What if I lose everything? What if my family hates me? What if I'm a burden to those I love? What if my friends reject me from this new version of me? All the stories and the fear, and then it's like, we face that, we sit in it, we like marinate in it, like dance in it, get comfortable in it, and then we can go to the love and expansion.
Okay.
And then it's the same thing. As we continue to grow, it's like you access and tap into like a deeper fear. I feel like the more successful and the more success and freedom we experience, the deeper and more intense fear we have to be comfortable holding and facing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like a practice, like, okay, how can I hold this? How can I sit with this? How can I love this and worship this version of me, rather than healing it, fixing it, getting rid of it, purifying it.
Right.
Because it's trying to keep you safe. And
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, thank you, but okay, cool. We're still going to move forward and choose love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I think people can like choose which level that they want to settle into.
Yeah.
I just haven't felt comfortable settling into any level yet. And I think I'm just one of those people who may never feel settled. I may just want to keep going and see,
Yeah.
and that part scared me. Because like the last couple of years, I told you I was just leaning into pleasure and just stability.
Yeah.
And it got boring, and I fought it. I wanted to just be like, okay, I have, my business in place, my relationship, everything's cool. Let me just stay here. But something inside me was just like, nah, that's not all for you. Like you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And it sucked because I fought it so much every day. Like,
It's a lot of energy.
yeah, I wasted so much energy trying to stay in that place.
Yeah.
As soon as I let it go, I felt amazing. Like the day I met you, I was literally 2 days into that new energy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Of just stepping into the newness. And I always feel like when I align myself back where I need to be, everything just happens effortlessly. I don't have to try.
Yeah.
But when you fight the thing that you know you're supposed to do, life becomes very stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. The fighting. Oh my God, it's so draining.
Yeah.
And it's so funny too. I feel like when you realize you're doing that, like you're like, oh my God, I'm just fighting myself. Like, why? And then you let it go, and you're like, that was so draining for no. It's almost like this like hilarious when you become awakened to the truth of the scenario, and then you have to accept it. You're like, oh, this is what that is, and then you're like, how cute, like, like how cute of me, and then it becomes funny.
Yeah.
And when there's humor and play, there's freedom, and that's why like pleasure is so fun and awesome for healing, is because it opens you up to opportunities.
Okay.
When you're so serious about everything, there's no room for change.
True.
When you're so serious. But I want to know, how do you define freedom?
That's a great question. So I go back and forth on this one because the deeper I get into freedom, I find that more freedom often comes with more responsibilities, which kind of means it may not feel as free. It's kind of like a paradox. But I view freedom as just the ability or the opportunity to follow love and to like do things that feel true to me without limiting myself. That's the best way I could say it.
Yeah.
I also have this thing where I want to make sure that I'm not avoiding commitment. Because I feel like sometimes freedom can be the thing we say when we just don't want to commit to stuff.
When's your birthday again?
January 23rd.
That's my birthday.
Stop playing.
That's my birthday.
Yo.
That's weird.
For real?
Yeah. I will show you my license right now.
This is crazy.
That is
What?
That's wild. What year?
90.
91. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. We're twins.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, Aquarians, we like want to save the world, and like freedom is our our highest principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I feel trapped, I'm gone.
We're bye.
Yeah, I can't do it. That's fucking crazy.
That's hilarious.
The name of my company is the 123 Agencies. It's after my birthday. Like.
No, okay, so 23 is my lucky number. What time were you born?
I don't know.
Oh, I was born at 8:23 a.m.
Okay.
So 23 again. Our birthday party, when we turn 45, the date will be 2054. Oh, so
You'll be 45. I'll
you'll
be 46. Yeah.
Okay, but still, it'll be a great birthday. That date, all the spiritual people are gonna lose their minds because that date will be 012345.
Shit.
2045.
Wow.
On our birthday.
How do you feel about the numerology, like that type of thing? How do you feel about it?
I resonate with it. I have a friend who's like, she's just the greatest human, like ultimate spiritual teacher without trying to be like just sunshine, amazing person. Her name is Cass O'Neill. She's a writer. She's incredible. And like, she's a numerologist.
Okay.
And so she taught me a lot about numbers and like angel numbers and things, but I kind of like, I just take it as a sign, like I'm in alignment, and I just get excited. I'm like, yay me. And then I just keep living my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
I don't look too deep into it, but some things, I'm like, that can't be a coincidence.
Yeah.
You'll just keep seeing the same number, and it's always like when something epic is happening, you look at the clock.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. So
Yeah,
I resonate with that.
I got my GPS when I came here. It was like arrival time 444.
Come on.
And I was like, yeah. That's so crazy. We have the same birthday. I'm blown away.
I don't know anybody. I'm trying to think, do I know anybody else with that birthday?
Mitch, who works at the Strawberry Street Market, has their same birthday.
Mitch, okay. I gotta go check Mitch out now.
I know, he's really cool.
1, 2, 3. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's so funny.
That shows y'all alignment. Like literally.
Yes.
We met randomly. We had the same birthday. It's like.
Well, and I was like, this guy probably thinks I'm so annoying because, like, I don't know. I had my headphones on and I couldn't tell how loud I was talking.
No, you were passionate, but it was cool because I was like, oh, okay, I like what she talking about. So it was cool. Yeah. That's wild. How do you feel about the zodiac? Like, how's it feel to be an Aquarius?
Oh, I love being Aquarius.
Hell yeah.
I feel like people really misunderstand us, though, because they're like, we're aliens, we don't have feelings, like, all that stuff. I
trigger a lot of people.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think being
a
male Aquarius and having
Very
even
different.
fewer emotional things about me, it's just,
Yeah.
I can be a little bit, like, cold when I deliver things.
I'm very blunt in the way I speak.
Yeah.
And that can trigger people. Is that what you mean, kind of?
Yeah, like it'll just be very literal.
Yes, I'm so literal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
so
need
funny.
like an emotional buffer.
They do.
I don't have that. I don't know how to do that.
We're just like, this is be the truth, yo. Like,
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, it's okay.
I can tell you something that I notice about you, and I will have no judgment in my heart. It's like I have no emotion attached to it. I'm just like, hey, did you know you do this? And people will like get so weirded out or like hurt by it because they have to process it. Then they have to be like, damn, do I do that? It's like I can kind of just see people in a way that people don't normally, they're not used to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard me talk to my friend. I was like, do you think you're just avoiding this and this by escaping Richmond and like, yeah.
Some people don't know how to take it.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess I don't attract those types of people though.
And your energy is very cheerful. So I'm sure that offsets a lot.
Thank you.
I don't have as cheerful of a spirit. Mine's
You're very like calm though, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah.
Yeah. the other day it like hit me. I was like, I was wondering like what does freedom even mean to me? Like I asked that of myself 2 days ago, and I think it means like outside of God and love, nothing has power over me.
Okay.
Like no landlord,
Right.
no job title, no belief system, no person, no experience, no feeling has power over me.
I like that.
But I'm not more powerful than God or love. But other than that, in this world, yeah, that's freedom.
What does God mean to you? Being someone who wasn't raised religiously.
Yeah.
I'm always curious.
Well, so my grandma was half Native American. My great grandpa was full, but so growing up, she would always she would teach me like everything's alive. Everything has a spirit that you can connect with. Like you can go talk to trees and be friends with like bunnies. And
Who wouldn't want to be friends with a bunny?
I know, and I already like loved nature and animals so much, so I was like, you don't gotta tell me twice. So I like went out. So I would just like talk to trees all the time, and like I just felt really deeply connected with the world. And so we never outside of that. Like my dad was in the Gulf War, and he had this like tiny little pocket Bible that they give you when you go to war.
Right.
And so she took that from him, and she would read to me at night. And then sometimes she would read from that, and we didn't understand what anything meant. And then we would like, sometimes she would be like, do you want to say this like prayer in here? And I was like, sure. Like, I don't know. But so when she did that though, I grew up, I wrote letters to God to help me, because my mom growing up, she lost herself in a narcissistic relationship with my ex-stepdad, and she would like tell me that I ruined her life, that she hated me, that she wished I was never born, because I was a love child.
Okay.
I have 4 other siblings, and then I was a love child from someone else when her and my dad I grew up with were separated. And so, which I just found out a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny because my biological dad was like, it's so crazy you call yourself Sammy Be Love. He's like, because you literally were just made from so much love. He was like, you really were like we couldn't be together, but we could have you. And it was the one thing no one could take away from us. And we loved you, and we loved each other so much. And I was like, thank you for that.
That's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And I was like a little love baby. So, but that's why she took it out on me and hated, because then my parents got divorced when I was 6. And then, so she took it out on me and said I ruined her life and that she hated me and wished I didn't exist. And so starting at 6 years old to when I was 13, when I moved out, she said that to me. And so I would write letters to God, this almighty, powerful person I heard about in this book that men take to war with them, asking if he could make me a better person so my mom would love me and I wouldn't be ruining her life. And then I would put them in the mailbox, and she would find them, and nothing ever happened. And I was like, this lazy motherfucker, and he never responds. So then I started writing letters to Santa Claus, because I was like, at least he knows where I live. He might respond to me or give me this wish.
Right.
And then I moved after that. But so that was my relationship with God, and I was like, fuck that asshole.
Right.
He
doesn't respond to my mail.
He doesn't read my mail. What the heck? He didn't fix me. He didn't heal. He didn't save me from this experience or this pain or suffering.
Right.
And I think that's often our intention with your experience, save me from this pain and suffering. And to me, the experience of God is love. I think love is God, God is love. And it's what creation is, and it makes everything grow, and it's what's beating my heart, and it's what's healing my cuts, and it's the connection between us. It's how we can see color, and it's the womb of creation. And it's just creation and love. And so now when I tap into God, I'm like, I don't need you to save me. I don't need you to save me. I just need you to remind me of my power.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get there, though? How'd you go from the little kid who thought, God was just a lazy...
Yeah, betraying motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the transition? Because now it's a very beautiful view you have of God.
Thank you.
So how did you get there?
I got there through facing death. I think death is the greatest liberator. I used to be terrified of death. I used to be a hypochondriac. I still have moments of being like that, like, as we all do, and especially with POTS, the thing that I deal with, and the symptoms I have. One of the symptoms includes, like, your heart racing, so you're like, am I having a heart attack? Like, what?
Right.
It can be very triggering into fear. And I literally had this moment when I first got diagnosed and I was dealing with all these symptoms. I was like, I got triggered and my heart was racing. I was like, I just heard my friend say, like, oh, Sammy, like, you fell into fear again. Like, you can choose love. And I was just like, and I just melted in, like, it's just how I got there was, facing death. When I had that rabies scare at 24 and all that change happened in my life, like, I still was afraid of death after then, but I started to develop a relationship with it. And then I started having these crazy visions while meditating, which I kind of have always had. And, like, my sister has them too. And then my mom is also very in tune. And me and her are kind of all in the same, like, now I love, my mom's amazing now. Like, she's the best mom ever. Like, my family, I had a lot of shit to heal with my family. And now it's, like, incredible.
So maybe he did read your letters.
I know. Maybe he did. But it had to come through me, right?
Yeah.
It had to come through me. And that's what I say to myself, though. Whenever something happens that's challenging, I'm like, this is somehow part of an answered prayer. Somehow this is part of an answered prayer. So thank you. Like, always saying thank you. But I think facing death, and then when I developed POTS and was dealing with these crazy symptoms that feel like you're having a heart attack, I had to decide, what is death to me? And I realized that I believe it's just waking up in this, like, current of unconditional love.
Okay.
Like, you literally just wake up into unconditional love, and it's like your purest essence, which to me is that. And I was like, oh, it's all good. It's all gravy. Like, this is easy. This is good. Like, I just get to wake up in the arms of God and in this space of unconditional love for all of eternity. Like,
that does sound pretty cool.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'm free. I'm free from that.
Yeah.
But it's a great liberator to, like, value your time here.
Yeah.
But it definitely, and then it also, because your mind will play tricks on you. So, like, I used to have a fear of flying, like, situations when I wasn't in control.
Right.
So, like, driving, you feel like you're in control, but, like, flying, you feel like you're not. So, like, I was like, oh, well, if the plane's gonna go down, I might as well, like, really enjoy myself right now. Like,
why not?
Yeah. So, like, having that shift in perspective really was, like, brought me closer, changed my relationship with God, I guess.
Perspective is everything.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I call this show just Elevated Perspectives, because I feel like just giving people a different way to look at life can change your life so drastically. Nothing in your life necessarily has to change for you to feel 100% better about everything.
Yeah.
Just how you look at it.
Yes.
You talk about death, and this year I've had my taste of a lot of death. Not me, but just my grandfather, aunt, friends have had people pass away.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
it happens.
Yeah.
But that, like you said, it definitely just makes you realize the beauty of this time we have here. I am guilty of being a chronic scroller. I will scroll on Instagram till I can't scroll no more. And I realized, like, Will, why are you doing this? Is it because you're not facing something in real life that you should be doing? Probably. You probably are just avoiding some shit.
Yeah.
And it's like when people pass, it reminds me like, oh shit, every day it could be the best day of my life if I make it. So I recently put a calendar on my wall in my room, and it's nothing to do with like scheduling. It's just like when I wake up, it's like, how am I feeling? What am I gonna do? All right, I woke up feeling like a 6 out of 10. I'm a little sluggish. I'm gonna drink some water and go work out. I'm gonna call somebody. I'm gonna go play basketball. Like just doing the things intentionally that make me happy.
Yeah.
I feel like traveling. I haven't went anywhere in a while. Like, let me start looking at places. Like, just taking accountability over my life and my joy. And I think death helps you appreciate the life you have.
So how would you do that if you had like kids and a job and you couldn't just like make those decisions?
That's a great question, and that's exactly why I have neither.
Both of us were like free birds.
Yeah.
But if we did, how? Yeah.
That's a good question. I think a wife and kids or career and kids would come from love. That's the only way I would accept it into my life. So I feel like if I find it in love, meaning I love the mother of the children, I love the career I'm doing, I feel like it's easier to then make decisions in love with life. But I feel like if you are backed into those type of situations where you just kind of don't want to do it, I don't know. I would have to like experience that to really explore that perspective.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's people that are in that life, and I would feel crazy trying to tell them how to maneuver it. I don't know.
I know, I feel bad because sometimes people are always harping on social media about like being so inclusive. And like, I really honestly don't even try to tackle that because it's like, I don't have the fucking right to speak about shit. I am blind. My one friend is a beautiful lyricist and she wrote, I am blind and deaf to those I cannot relate. Yeah. And like, that is the truth. Like, I don't have a right to speak on it because I don't understand it. I've never lived it. I don't know. Like,
I can extend, like, I can try to empathize to the best of my ability.
Maybe you'll find value in something I say and inspire something within you or trigger something, or maybe it reaches a core universal truth of being human, but I can't pretend to like know your personal situation. But I think, so in the past though, like there were things or people that like you deeply loved, at least in the beginning, but then things change. So it's like, how would you, So like, how do you know? So you could set out with the intention to like create a family and birth something, a life or a lifestyle out of love, but then things change.
True.
Yeah.
I think for me though, at least for the relationship part, no, honestly, all of it. I don't think it was birthed out of love. It was birthed out of, how can I say this? I would say, what's the word that describes when you feel like something's the noble thing to do? Like, I'm going to be a stand-up person and do this because it's the right thing to do. What's that word? I don't know what that is. Obligation, maybe?
Yeah, I guess obligation. Like,
that was more so how
sounds like being a nice guy.
Being a nice guy, yeah. That was how I moved. I didn't want my actions to negatively affect other people, or if I saw people who needed me, I had a complex where I wanted to like save people. Now I realize, that was ego and some other stuff. Like, but yeah, that was the type of energy I was moving in. It wasn't truly love.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that in the moment.
Yeah. And do you feel like, but that's so funny because like we think it is at the time, maybe,
it's a form of love, but it's like, I didn't have like a full body, like, I want this.
Yeah.
It was more of a like, well, this is cool and it'll be beneficial to them.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a yes.
Yeah, fuck yes.
Yeah, now I just want the yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like,
Yeah.
I really want to do that. And if it
Beautiful.
doesn't feel like that, then I just don't want it.
It's just such a classic, like, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
But, like, at that time, you really didn't know better. Like, you were just doing what you could with what you had. And
I still think that I value going through those moments, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to get to the point where you know better, you have to go through things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you have to kind of work your way up to the pure essence of love. You don't know what love is at that point.
Yeah.
I'm sure 5 years from now, I think it's, it'll be even more of a clear vision of what love is.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you go in situations looking to add value and not, take, things happen the way they should. Like, I learned, the other person learned, any place I was, like, we both got something from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go on and do something even better the next time. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like I'd like to joke around that the universe is kinky. And that, like, existential crisis is really just this process of, like, orgasmic awakening to, like, our power again and again. Like, why do we continuously forget and repeat cycles and do things? Because it feels so good to awaken to, like, oh yeah, like, I can do this, I'm powerful, I'm beautiful, like, I'm loved, I can do anything. And, like, to reawaken to that truth again and again and again, like, it's like orgasming.
That is true. It's no better feeling than that.
Yeah.
It's like a life orgasm.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's like, oh, this isn't an existential crisis. This is an opportunity for existential kink.
Yo. I need you to, like, make that a thing. Like, I need that to be like a video or something.
I do. I have a little reel on it.
Oh, for real?
Just one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like the way you put that. That's
Thank
cool.
you.
I'm working on ways to, like, deliver. I think there's levels. So, like, you can have a level where you know something. You can have a level where you understand it. Then you can have a level where you can communicate it in a way that's, like, very effective. And I think you communicate things in a way where not only do you understand it, but you can make it plain. So I think that's a really good skill.
I feel like I don't see that. I feel like I'm like, no, man, I don't communicate things in a clear way. Like, I love the word quintessence. I've been focusing on that a lot because it's like it's like literally communicating the essence of it. Like, focusing on the main point. And so that's been my focus. And I'm like,
Well, there's different ways.
think the opposite.
I think I'm more like that, where I just say the bare minimum. But I think you add the color to make it feel a way.
Oh,
And that's something that works well for people.
thank you.
People who aren't as logical need the feeling part. So when you say it's a life orgasm, like, they're like, oh, you can feel that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we're emotional beings, and energy is emotion in our body, and that's why, like, 98% of the decisions we make is based on emotion. Like, emotion moves us.
Right.
Like, anger moves you.
Yeah.
Desire moves you.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, lust has moved mountains. Like, it seriously has, and heartbreak has moves us. And so it's that energy, it's life force.
It's funny that you say emotion moves you, because I think I went through this period where I was like, okay, I'm practicing detachment or non-attachment. So I'm not feeling anything. I'm going to go through life completely stoic. And it's like, yeah, you avoid pain, but you also don't feel joy either. So it's like, why the fuck am I doing this? I realized, like, would I rather avoid pain or just deal with it so I can get the joy too? And I think I'd just rather have joy and pain. I don't want to not feel anything. Not feeling anything is a very weird way to live.
Yeah.
I don't want to say weird. I'll say it's like you're just floating. You can be like this all wise, all powerful, but, like, you don't enjoy it though. You become just this sage that people come to for advice, but you don't know how to have fun. You don't know how to, like, do anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there something that happened that made you be like, fuck this shit?
Just years of not feeling anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, Actually, no. I take it back. The relationship we were talking about, which triggered my pleasure period. I'll give her credit. She reintroduced me to feeling things and just doing things for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I forgot how to do that.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good job.
It was a very learning experience for both of us.
Yeah.
And I think in some relationships, once you learn the lessons, then you can be free to move on to the next.
Did you ever tell her that that's what you learned from your connection?
I did.
That's good. I feel like that's the key point in like moving on is like communicating that value.
Yeah.
That was exchanged.
We definitely, that was the first person that I had that level of intimacy with, as you described intimacy. We told the truth about everything. And a lot of it didn't feel good, but it did have the desired effect that you spoke of. Like, it was very sexually free because it was just, you knew who you were dealing with. There was no hiding. And I was like, man, this is different. I never experienced this type of feeling before with somebody.
Yeah.
It unlocks like a whole new level of sensations that I didn't know existed. It felt like some spiritual, like I felt things moving that I'm like, what is that?
Yes. So beautifully said. The reason why that's the foundation, like that intimacy, telling the truth and actually feeling your emotions, like I call your tolerance for emotion, because like I feel like it's an Aquarius thing. We're so mental that we process our emotions in our head and we don't actually feel them.
Yes.
Like it's so easy for us. We're like, oh, it's just because of this and this and that, and then we're like, oh, done, and we don't feel it. So I still struggle with this. Like I still deal with this, but actually feeling your emotions, having the safety to feel your emotions, the safety to tell the truth, and to also like you can have the emotions, but that's not your identity. It's not your permanent experience. It's weather. It's moving through you, but you're owning and honoring, because whatever you don't own owns you. So if you're afraid of owning that anger, you're afraid of owning that experience, it then has power over you. So it's like, oh, this isn't more powerful than me. I'm going to honor this. I'm going to witness it. I'm going to love it. And so what I teach is like, how can you actually worship it and like extract all the pleasure out of that experience? Can you extract pleasure out of the anger? Can you extract pleasure out of the fear? Can you extract pleasure out of the heartbreak?
What's that look like?
Oh, it's amazing. It's funny because there's actually this book. I think it is called Existential Kink that people have related my work to, but I listened to like the first half of it, but what she teaches is very different, but some of the premises are the same, but also a little different. But anyway, like what I teach is worshiping every version of you, because whenever we reject parts of ourselves, it's like that's what gets triggered when other people reject us. So if other people reject us and we don't reject ourselves, we'll just be like, oh, that's interesting. Like, like we just accept it. We are just like, oh, okay, that's just how they feel, rather than like, I'm the worst. Like, no one loves me. It's like if I said that you are a purple old woman, you'd be like, all right, bitch. Like, who cares? Like, what are you even saying? Like,
'cause I know it's not true for me.
Yeah, it's not true. And so when you love and worship every moment and every version of yourself. So for example, like I had an ex who rejected me for being emotional. Like if I ever had something going on and I was in my emotions, he couldn't handle it because he was more feminine and he wanted me to be in the masculine, to hold the solid ground. Meanwhile, he would have tantrums and be emotional, upset, stressed from work, and I had to hold the solid ground for both of us. And if I ever wasn't doing that, and if I ever was in my emotions, he would lose it. He couldn't handle it. And so he would reject that version of me. So when I left that relationship, I had to learn, like, it's safe for me to have emotions. I don't have to hold the solid ground all the time. And, like, that's where polarity and understanding masculine and feminine energy was really helpful, because then I learned I'm authentically very feminine, and this person also was authentically very feminine. there's not polarity. It doesn't work.
Right.
There's not enough. We're repelling each other. We're fighting over who gets to be in the feminine. So it creates a lot of clarity. But so when you worship, it's like literally just asking yourself that question. Like, how can I worship this version of me? And so if you're feeling really heartbroken, therefore close to your heart, and you're just like crying, it's like, what would make this experience even better? Oh, listening to all the sad songs. How would I get a blanket and wrap myself around it? Do I have a fireplace? Can I light it? Can I light candles? Can I like have a bath and cry? Can I like do all the things, embrace it?
I never thought about it like that. So it's just, wow. Instead of fighting it, it's just doing it to the fullest.
Do it to the fullest and like love and respect it, And you don't have to do it for a long time. Like, so I would be, let's say like even the most extreme version, like a panic attack. Like if you're having a panic attack, like I would ask myself, like, how could I worship this version of me? And as soon as I would ask myself that, I would be like, oh, I just love it. I just relax into it. I accept it. She's beautiful. She's worthy of love. This version of me is worthy of respect and care and abundance and love and success, and all of her dreams can come true even though this is her moment right now. I was like, oh, okay, it's safe to experience this. And once you align safety with every emotion, you no longer are afraid of it. So you're not you don't numb yourself. And so you are way more open to emotions and to sensations. And you're like, the world becomes so delicious and sex becomes amazing. And you can actually feel your body and you can actually feel your partner. And it's like I refer to like how safe you feel in your emotions to like your wingspan.
Okay.
Like it will carry you so far, and it's like how free you are. Like you can literally fly. Because you feel so safe in your fear. You feel so safe in your love and joy. You feel so safe in your boredom.
Okay.
You don't have to escape any of those experiences.
Right.
You don't have to escape them or reject them.
So tell me, how do you get to a point where you understand that? Like, how did you personally get to this level of understanding?
By doing the opposite. By rejecting emotions, by shoving it down, by numbing out, by using sex to numb, by using alcohol to numb, by using coffee and stimulants to numb, and like everything, seeking out external validation, like all the things. Yeah, all the things. I feel like, so I also too, like, I didn't like, I learned Reiki and I did like energy healing training, and that was amazing. Like I woke up one day, I was like, I need to learn Reiki, and I didn't even know what it was. Like this was like 6 years ago. I was like, I just need to learn this. So I signed up for a class that day. It was a 5-month-long program, which normally it's taught in like one day.
Damn.
And you volunteer. This program also volunteers to give Reiki to cancer patients at Penn. So it's like a really intense program, and then you keep continuing for like every level. And so that really started with like me just tuning in to like, we never really sit with every inch of our body and see what's there.
Okay.
So it started with that, with tapping into like just sitting with the energy that's present. Because like I would be doing sessions on myself, and like I would have this like, I would get down to here, my solar plexus, and I would have this like gasping feeling. I'd be like I can't breathe. I was like, what the fuck is that about? Like why is that happening? And then this memory came back of when I almost drowned when I was 8. And
wow.
Yeah, that I totally forgot about. Like totally forgot. And I was like, and that came through, and I was like, this is just chilling here. It's just sitting here.
So like the memory was trapped in your body?
Yeah. So it's like you tune into, because, and this is like proven, like we have neurons all in our body. Like our heart has like 80 million neurons. So it has its own neural network. It's like a second brain.
Okay.
Or even the first brain, because it develops before the brain.
True.
Yeah. So like the Egyptians were right, kind of.
So this is like would you say this is like your spiritual brain and this is like your logical brain?
Yeah, like our brain is a problem solver.
Right.
Right? It's a Bob the Builder. Like you put the vision in, you install the vision, and it gets built. It makes sure that it gets built. So if you install, but then the brain-heart coherence. Oh, I keep grabbing the microphone. Sorry.
Right.
But brain and heart coherence, when they link up, that's when magic happens. That's when healing happens. So the heart is gonna store like, for example, like I help men heal erectile dysfunction without medication.
Okay.
So, like a man will store, if they get rejected sexually, they'll store in their heart the emotion, and their brain will store the memory. But it's connected.
Okay.
So then, let's say they start to develop erectile dysfunction, they're 30 years old, there's no reason medically at all why they should be dealing with this, but they are. So there's no medical reason, which, if there's no medical reason, then it doesn't exist.
It's just something in here or in here.
Yeah, it's actually not real, but there's so many people are on medication for this that are super young that there's no physical reason why they're having it. But so you have to retrain your brain and your heart that it's safe, because your heart will like kick into gear and like your heart will start racing and be like, it's not safe, I'm in this experience, I'm in this sexual exchange, they're gonna reject me, they're not gonna accept me, I'm gonna be embarrassed and shamed. And then the mind like projects the vision and is like, how can we get out of this scenario?
Oh, okay.
So they both are communicating, and then what's happening is the blood isn't flowing, you're not present.
Because you're all in here.
You're all
here.
in your head.
Okay.
You're trying to escape. You're not safe in your body. So it's like, how could you have sex in
You're
that
not
moment?
even really there.
Yeah, you're not there, and you don't feel safe, and you're like, of course you're not going to get an erection.
There's nothing sexy about those feelings you're having.
No, no, so the brain and heart coherence, like we can feel each other's, like our hearts are gonna sync up, because if there's a lion coming up behind me, your heart is gonna let my heart know. Because your heart's gonna start racing, your brain's gonna process it, your heart's gonna feel it, that fear, and then I'm gonna be like, and so our hearts sync up to each other for survival. So if you go into fight or flight because you're not feeling safe sexually, then I'm gonna be like feeling disconnected and weird and maybe even triggered. Okay. And not feeling safe because we're connected.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then when people get into those moments, they get into shame. They're like, okay, then the computer is like, okay, how do we survive this? And then it's like, what's programmed in here? And often it's porn. Because when we watch television or movies, it puts our brain in a state of hypnosis. So we record that as what it's supposed to look like and feel like. So then we just act out some like bullshit sexual experience that is like lame. It doesn't feel good. It's like there's this experience that is referred to in the space as like being fucked open to God. Like, and if you've experienced it, like you know.
I might have.
Yeah, right? Like, you know. And like, if you're like, maybe, then you haven't.
I think so.
And there's no shame in not experiencing that. Like, I've had friends that were like in their 50s that like just experienced it, and they come to me and they're like, I know now. Like, I know what that is. And like, it's beautiful and it's so amazing. But it's like when you're fully able to be present with someone and the connection, the polarity is there, the respect, the truth, the safety, the intimacy is there. And it's like this like devouring of each other with creativity and fun. You will do the kinkiest shit in those moments with those people. You will have the most mind-blowing sex. Like, you don't need to, like, in those, you're not going to be like, oh, wait, let me put on my cop outfit. No, like,
you don't need any of that.
No, that is, like, gross. That's, like, bar nuts when you have a steak dinner in front of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've experienced something where how can I put it? It was like I could feel. It was like I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like to the point where it's certain if you just move like a centimeter to the left, then it's like I'm like, oh shit, I'm feeling it, she's feeling it, then I'm like, all right, let me move. It's like we didn't have to do much, but it's like the sensation was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was like to the point where we would have looked crazy if anybody had seen it. Like it would have looked absolutely ridiculous and sounded ridiculous, but it was
wouldn't have looked very sexy probably.
Not at all, but it felt incredible.
Yes.
And it felt like some God type stuff. So when you said that, I'm like, maybe I have felt that before.
Yes, because because in that moment when you're so connected and it's like literally every little movement sends these like shivers up your spine of just being like every moment of it feels orgasmic.
I went nonverbal. I couldn't.
You're like, I don't even know my name. I don't know where we are. I don't know anything besides like this. You become one.
Yeah.
Because your hearts are connected and your brains are connected and it's synced to the present moment with so much love and acceptance for what is without trying to escape it and not rejecting it. You're not thinking about how your body looks. You're not thinking about like the trash they didn't take out. Like it's without a sense of self-betrayal. Which is huge because people betray themselves sexually all the fucking time. The two areas of life we betray ourselves most is with money and sex.
What do you mean by self-betrayal?
Where we don't honor our truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that look like sexually? So
if something doesn't feel good to you, a position, and you don't say anything.
Okay.
If there's if you guilt yourself into being intimate when you don't want to. If there's a truth you haven't spoken to your partner because you're afraid of rocking the boat. So you're like, okay, let's just cuddle and watch a movie. I'm going to shove this down. Now they want to have sex, but I haven't said this thing, but I don't want to stir the boat. And like, so I'm just going to fuck them and then make them happy and then I'll feel better. And then everything will be peachy when I wake up tomorrow. No.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean like every little thing you have to talk about or every little thing is something to figure out. Like it's not that. It's just honoring yourself. And like having that standard. But we're so afraid of upholding that standard. My standard is make it worship or don't bother.
Make it worship or don't bother. Okay. Yeah.
With work, with life.
So like just do it with passion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, do you want to worship this person right now? I'm sure, like, your experience that you had, right? Didn't it feel like you were worshiping yourself and them at the same time?
I guess it did. I never thought about it like that. But yeah, I guess that would be a word that I could use. It was like a very intense devotion, which is, I guess that's worship.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
You're right.
And it's almost like worshiping like life itself. In that moment with that other person. And when you do that, when you like hold that standard for love and sex, that is like what heals. That's what heals your ancestors, and that's what heals generations to come.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a question because I want to get this in. I don't know how long we've been on, but I want to make sure we get this question in. So, what's your view on like relationships and the role of sex in relationships and how you distribute sex, whether it's in one relationship or in multiple relationships? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah. I like that you asked this. So it's changed so much over time, you know, like experience and learning and growing and also just personal preference. And when I first realized I was numbing sexual trauma with alcohol when I was 24, I was in a long-term relationship and that person would say to me, I feel like we should have sex even if you don't want to, because that's what you do in a relationship. And what's the difference if we're not having sex? Then what's the difference between us and your friends? And I was like, no, I should not have sex with you if I don't want to. Like, there should never be pressure in a relationship. Like, that is not okay. And then I broke up and moved out like a few days later.
You were not having it.
No, because I was like, if I'm going to heal sexually, I have to feel like I fully own my body, and I can't be with someone who doesn't see me as fully owning myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so then that led to like a few months later, I started to hang out with a friend, and I had known them for years, and then we kind of got romantically involved, and I said to them, I was like, your sexual needs are your own, like, your romantic needs are your own, like, I'm not responsible for any of them, like, I am 100% prioritizing myself, like, my needs are my needs, your needs are your needs, we are separate, don't even ask me to, like, you know, like, if we have sex, great, if we don't, and you want to, and I don't want to, like, go find someone else to do it with, like, I was very, like...
You were okay with that?
Yeah, I was like, I don't fucking, like... I'm not responsible for you and your dick and your orgasms. Like that's how I felt. And then that person, so then when we became more serious, we maintained that open relationship structure throughout the entire relationship, which was like 3.5 years, and we lived together, and we never acted on it. Like he did a month-long like Euro trip and like made out with some girl like in Amsterdam in his hostel, and like I thought that was really cool. Like I was like, that's...
Really?
Yeah, like because those moments when you meet someone and you connect with them, and then you you have this rendezvous, and like that is like so beautiful. Like
I think so too.
Yeah, those experiences and those moments, like, you feel alive. And I was like, I don't want to cut you off from you experiencing those moments of being purely alive and, like, feeling that and the magic that has the value that is, like, we're going to die one day and, like, we're going to be old and gross one day. Like, you know, and, like, follow that if it happens. But our disconnect was... He was like, oh, that would only happen for me if I was traveling. And mine was like, that would only happen for me with my friends because I need emotional connection for sexual attraction, and he does not.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I'm going to have sex with someone, it's going to be a friend, but like I don't want to date them.
Right.
And he was, but we never acted on it just because we didn't want, we're like, okay, we're just going to figure it out as we go, you know, like, maybe ask permission first, maybe not. Like, we'll see. And so then, and he even had opportunities where he was, like, in cities where his exes were. But because he had the opportunity to, it was, like, it took that taboo part of it out. So there was no desire. He's like, oh, well, me and Sam have amazing sex, and, like, I love her, and I don't feel the need. So because he had the option, he didn't feel the need. And all of his coworkers would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, go have sex with that person. And he was like, no. And they didn't understand that. And then also for me, it just same thing. Like, it never felt like it would be a valuable experience. So then we broke up, and then that was my own, like, now I wouldn't be in an open relationship.
What changed?
I still was, so now I just see, so even though I had been healing sexually during that relationship, I wasn't like liberated.
Okay.
I would say. And that happened right after our relationship is when I learned about feminine masculine dynamics. I learned about polarity. I learned about like sexual healing, and then I was like, only this moving forward. And then I had a beautiful relationship with a friend, again, someone I had known for years, so it was like that intimacy and comfort was already there. And then our polarity was like, they were very masculine but didn't really like know, they weren't aware, and I was aware, and I was like, I'm gonna just embrace the fuck out of my femininity and like see what happens. And it was like magic for both of us. Like, so healing, so amazing, like, fucked open to God. Like, for both of us. Like, we still talk about it, like, how healing that was and how amazing it was. And, like, when you're experiencing that because you're in your truth, you're in your integrity, you're not like, ooh, what's this? Like, you just don't have the desire.
Right.
At all to, like, seek outside of that dynamic because everything feels so cheap.
True.
And you, like, and then, yeah, so that was 2 years ago, and then my most recent relationship was with someone that, like, I actually saw myself, like, marrying, which I'd never I never even thought of getting married before until, even though I'd been in relationships that were, like, 3 years long, 4 years long, like, lived together, never thought of marrying them, ever, until this most recent person, and yeah, because there's something so beautiful about, like, loving being that devotion and not hiding and not being afraid of the accountability and love and, like, holding someone to a certain standard with love and grace and them doing the same for you.
Right. And
being devoted to that, like, sexual freedom on your own, but also with each other.
Okay.
Because I don't think, sex has nothing to do with, like, dressing up, being sexy, invite a third part. I would never fucking have a threesome now, like, invite a third partner. Even, like, they went to a strip club for a bachelor party, and I helped him pick out the strippers that were going to come to the house. And I was like, yeah, because I've been to lots of strip clubs before with exes, and I was fine with it. But and then I, like, researched about it when he was gone, and I was like, oh, I just want to know more about, like, strippers. And I didn't realize that they get fully naked in some states.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about a lot of things that I'd never witnessed and experienced at strip clubs. And so I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. All of a sudden, this feels like a boundary. Like, this is sexual energy that I value and is such a healing space that, like, I would never share that with someone with, that's not something I hand out like candy. Like, that's...
Right.
Yeah, like, that's my house.
I see what you're saying.
Like, these are the walls of my house. This holds my spirit and my heart.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that's where I'm at with it now.
Okay.
And they totally understood. They were like, I don't care either. I only want you. Like, this, yeah. Like, I feel the exact same way. Like, I'm so sorry that you've realized this hurts you now. Like, it was a beautiful exchange. Like, it was a great conversation. But that's where I'm at now.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you at? Because I know that you said that you were questioning relationship dynamics in a way that your family wouldn't approve of.
I always find that it's hard for me to be in just traditional relationships. It seems like I enjoy intimate moments with multiple people, but not just like sex, but just intimate moments. And it's like, I haven't really been in a relationship with the person was okay with that, because it can feel kind of, I guess, intimidating that I'm just out here connecting with all these people, and it's like, you know, am I gonna still be satisfied with our connection at home? But I have this inherent curiosity. I always want to just connect, and I feel like my connections always go straight to the depths because that's where I live. I don't know how to do surface level anything.
That's an Aquarius thing.
Yeah, like, I'm just...
And we love flirting.
We do. Yeah, we do.
We do.
As much as I try to turn it off, I don't know if I know how to turn it off.
No!
It's just me.
Because I think flirting is loving life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to show people, like, I appreciate how you look. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate you as a person.
Yeah.
But that can be very deemed inappropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just in a place where, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my answer. I don't know.
Great.
Yeah. It's like I'm just following what feels true to me. And just doing it responsibly.
Yeah.
I think in the past, I haven't been always the most responsible. So that's my thing now.
The integrity.
Yeah, not acting on everything just because I can, but really like, you know, I think about it a little bit first. Yeah.
We overthink everything besides our spontaneity. We are so like.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Like when we do let ourselves feel, we're like full steam ahead, baby. No thoughts.
No thoughts.
No thoughts.
Yeah. So
funny.
I'm just learning how I affect people. Because for me, I can do that and be fine. I can wake up and be like, that was cool. Like, life is good. And not emotionally be, like, messed up by it. But a lot of people, well, a lot of women that I dealt with, I can't say, I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit different. It's like a lot of women haven't been connected with in a way where they feel something. So when they do, they want that thing. And for me, that's just how I am. So it's like, I'm not necessarily trying to like commit to someone just because I connect deeply with them.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part for me.
Well, that's where the integrity comes in, because with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And then also it's like, that's where women have all the power. Like now I take it slow. Like I do not, like that's where it's like the sexual liberation promiscuity comes in. Like especially as a woman, because it's like, if I'm fucking you, like I'm yours. Like
okay.
I know where it's gonna go. I know where we're headed. Like if I'm not yours, then that's not on the table.
Okay.
Just because I know that that's where my integrity lies. So it's like we as individuals have to figure that out. You know, like the people, like they have to figure it out for themselves, where that line is for them, and like you have to figure out where that is for you. And like, there is something I refer to as like your sexual legacy. So like we're always, the reason why sex can be like this profound healing experience, like you connect, like you said, like being fucked open to God, that moment of deeply connecting, being so attuned to them, that can heal your lineage, and it can heal your entire future lineages, like because it you upregulate and downregulate genes.
What's that mean?
So yeah, so our bodies. So in those moments, you're either contributing to healing and freedom, or pain. So if they're self-abandoning their integrity to deeply connect in that moment, that's actually causing a lot of pain. And the reason why it can heal our lineage in the future or the past is because our environment controls our genes. That way, it's technically called epigenetics. So that way that we can be born into an environment with everything we have to survive in it. So like if there's a lot of stress or if there's a lot of pollutants, a baby's going to be born a certain way with certain genes or a certain nervous system to survive. So if it thinks that, like if there's a lot of stress, then that baby's going to be born with like a lot of fight or flight, thinking there's a lot of fucking tigers around to escape from.
Right.
So it's got to have a really strong fight or flight like trigger. So that, yeah, so it controls like how our genes show up, because we'll get rid of the ones we don't need. We'll downregulate the ones that we don't need and upregulate, like turn on and turn off the ones that we do need to survive in the environment it believes we're living in. Okay. So it also controls the chemistry of your blood. So if you're in an environment where it's like, it's unsafe, it's chaotic, you feel depressed, people are cursing, people are saying negative things, it releases chemicals in our brain and in our blood. But if there's an environment of love and safety and connection, and it uses positive words like abundance and you know, just whatever positive words you can think of, prosperity, freedom, joy, peace, and it has those emotions and those intentions, again, it affects your blood chemistry, it affects your genes, it affects everything.
Okay.
So you are literally a different person experiencing things different ways. And so if you're in that moment of deeply connecting with someone, you can change how their genes are expressed and the kids they will have in the future.
Wow.
Because you're either helping them believe that they live in a loving, safe environment where they are valued, or that they're still in this unsafe, painful environment where they're not valued and they need a really intense nervous system to survive. Yeah, so you can heal that within yourself and that other person every time you have sex.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep. That is deep.
Whereas, like, you know, maybe our ancestors didn't have those opportunities because they didn't have the same comforts or the same privileges. And so it's like we get to create that with each other. So you can have casual sex and still have that intention and still create that healing. That other person just has to be fully aware and also in integrity with the truth of what it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's your sexual legacy.
Man.
We're in control of future generations even if we're not having babies.
That's wild. I think I'm just gonna end it right there. Like I don't even want to corrupt that. I just want to leave that how that is and just let that sit.
Okay.
I really appreciate this conversation. This was
Me
really,
too.
really good.
Thank you.
I gotta get you back here again for another episode one day.
Yeah, I would love to talk about things with you. All the things.
Yeah, all the things.
Thank you.
For sure. Well, this is another episode of Jet Stream. We had Sammy. Dope conversation. I just want to say, again, do things with love and passion. Do it as if you know you're going to die, because we are going to die eventually. So let's do that shit. Anything you want to do, any ideas you have, act on it like there might not be a tomorrow. With that being said, did you want to leave us with anything?
Yeah, act as if there's no tomorrow, but trust in the abundance of this present moment and that there's like infinite possibility in the now, and to let that be the safe space that holds you with so much love and believing in infinite possibilities. To not get so wrapped up in there might not be a tomorrow, so let me protect and control the tomorrow. But yeah, you are worthy as you are, and to just worship every version of you. And if there's something in your life, make it worship or don't bother. Leave it behind.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm
Simple.
glad she said that, because, yeah, you definitely fleshed it out a lot more. Thank you. So, yeah, that's it, y'all. Have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good life. Love you. Peace. We did that. That was it. Good stuff.
Yeah.